Today I'll be doing it on period myths and first period questions and a few tips from me. So, first, I'll start with the first period one. So, generally, how old are you when you get your first period? This varies because now girls are getting it earlier and earlier. So, it's like 8 years old to 15-year-old. Um, and if you're 16 and you still haven't gotten your period yet, you might want to check with your doctor because you might have primary okay, I don't know how to pronounce that word, but it means like you might not get your period. So if you're 16 and there's no sign of your period yet, just go ask your mom to check with a doctor or something. Um, so will it hurt? No, because I didn't feel anything for my first period at all. Um, unless you have cramps, but it's not very likely for your first period because for my first few, I didn't have very many. I didn't feel anything at all. I was just bleeding, and it's okay. This is a gross thing, but you can sometimes feel the blood coming out. Sorry to gross you out, but that's a fact. So, also on the first one, the average age though is about 12 to 13. So I got mine when I was 13. So yeah. What are some signs of your first period? Well, first you have to be going through puberty, so such as breast buds. If you're okay, this is kind of like a funny story, but when I was 10, I first started getting breast buds. I thought I got breast cancer because my chest hurted, and then I looked at my symptoms on WebMD. Cough, cough, never a good idea. Um, but it said that I got scared because sometimes with breast cancer we're like having lumps under your breasts, but it turns out they were just breast buds, and now I have boobs. So yay, it's not breast cancer. Um, so that one, and then you'll have like pubic hair. You'll start to grow pubic hair and armpit hair, and it'll generally start at a lighter color. Then it'll go on to darker color. So, and finally, the most important one is you'll be getting discharge from your vagina. It's kind of like snot, which is a kind of a gross comparison, but um, you'll feel something wet down there most of the time when you get discharged. And when it dries, it's gross. It's like whitish, yellowish. It depends. Um, so yeah. Um, will your first periods, be on schedule? Because you hear women go like, "Oh, I'm getting my period every month," but that's not always true, especially for your first few, because it generally takes 18 months or so for your period thing to even out. So you might have like a period, like you might have 3 periods within 2 months, or one period within 2 months, or 3 months. But if you skip a period for more than 3 months, you should go check with your doctor. Um, so yeah. And how should you get ready for your first period? Is that you should be informed. So like read some books on it, read some online articles. Just make sure they're trusted things. You can go on period things like Always websites, Tampax. Being Girl's a really good one. I'll leave that in the description box below, and you can check it out later. And so what if Oh, and also to be ready, you can make a kit, a first period kit, as I showed in my previous video. And what if you get it in school? So if you think that you're gonna get your period soon, you should probably wear some liners just to be prepared. I had a liner on for my first period, and I was really happy that I had it on because it was really unexpected, and yeah. And also, will your first period, always be red? No, not necessarily. Well, it's kind of weird because for my first one, I wasn't sure if I got my period because it looked a bit like I pooped my pants, but I wasn't sure. So, when I wiped later, I realized that I did get my period. So I was like, okay, cool. I didn't poop my pants. Um, but if you get it at school, if you don't have a liner on, well, you can either ask your nurse, but at my school, we don't have a nurse who does that. Like, I don't even know if we have a nurse at our school. But if you don't at your school, then you can this is like very last resort thing, but you can make a pad, a temporary pad out of toilet paper. But another thing is that the toilet paper at our school is really bad. It's thin and it breaks easily. So if you have thin toilet paper at your school, just like use a lot of it and make a pad, and walk around to see so you don't like a penguin waddling out. Um, and so a tip is that you should tell your mom or family member, like someone you know who can help you with it right away after you get your period. Because, okay, when I told my mom, it was really awkward because I waited a little too long to tell her. Um, so I suggest that you tell your mom as like right when you get it, or your dad if you're comfortable, or your aunt or your sister if you have any like female friends. Okay, now I'm going to move on to the period myths, and I got these from You by Kotek's website. I can put them down in the description box below so you can check it out if you want to. So basically, the first one is, if I swim in the ocean on my period, will I get eaten by sharks? No, there aren't any documented cases of a woman being eaten by a shark because she was on her period. So, can I wash my hair during my period? Of course you can wash your hair. Um, I don't feel any different on my period. I just feel like I'm bleeding out of my vagina, but it doesn't hurt, and all you feel is just like the blood dripping out. But that's about it. And so I feel like it's especially important to stay clean and feel fresh on your period. So definitely wash your hair. Should I be resting all the time during my period? Not necessarily, because if you have cramps, which I don't yet, but I've read online that if you exercise, it's good for the cramps. And if you're in hot water, does that increase your period flow? No, it doesn't. And there's also no way to safely and naturally stop your period from coming either. So that's too bad. And you can't, and this is also a myth that you can't get pregnant on your period, but that's not true because you can get pregnant when you're ovulating and you, so just like have safe sex, people. Um, and that you can't use a tampon if you're a virgin or you're not old enough. That's also a myth because I'm 13 and I use tampons and I'm a